After years of bullying from my fiancé's aunties, I finally stood up for my grieving family when one aunt kicked them out of their seats. My fiancé's 4 aunts bullied me for 3.5 years. My partner never defended me, and I was told not to react. My breaking point arrived when one of his aunts harassed my grieving family and forced them out of their seats at an event. I have now become the scapegoat of his family, and my partner is even blaming me for the disintegration of his entire family. Am I the one at fault for standing up for myself? I, 25F, never imagined I would encounter such a situation in my life as an in-law. I have turned into my fiancé's 33M family scapegoat. This ordeal began 4 years ago when I and my partner's cousin's girlfriend, Lakeisha, experienced a falling out. We were both 21 at that time and had grown very close. I considered her my best friend. After our disagreement, we spoke on the phone to resolve the issue. I had her on speaker while my partner, Vance, listened. We mutually agreed to give each other space and move on. I suggested that we quietly break up our friendship without involving anyone from Vance's family, as it could impact Vance and his close relationship with his cousin, Tyler, Lakeisha's boyfriend. We came to this agreement, and Vance heard everything. 2 months later, my mother-in-law visited us and informed us that Auntie J, Tyler's mom, had told her that I, my fiancé, and our children were not permitted to attend the family New Year's party. Lakeisha not only violated our agreement to keep the family out of it, but she also began spreading false rumors about me to Vance's entire family. Lakeisha told them I was a violent and abusive individual who threatened to harm her if she revealed anything I had done to her. These accusations were completely untrue and actually reflected her own violent behavior. She became aggressive with me every time she drank, and I reached my limit when she physically assaulted me, which led to the end of our friendship. These allegations spread like wildfire, permeating through his large, interconnected family, and eventually reached Vance and me. We were the last to discover it. By then, most of his family had removed me from all social media platforms. I quickly texted Lakeisha, calling her a liar and warning her that by involving the family, she was jeopardizing the relationship between my partner's mother and her sister, Auntie J. The response I received was, "This is Auntie J. You are to never text or speak to Lakeisha again. There will never be tension between me and my sister. We don't keep secrets in this family." I was utterly astonished. I had dealt with rumors in middle school from 14-year-old girls, but I had never faced such blatant lies from an adult. As much as I wanted to clear my name, I held on to hope that the truth would eventually prevail and people would recognize my true character. They would see that I am not the violent person Lakeisha had depicted. My partner advised me not to engage with his family and to allow him to handle everything. So, I followed his lead, and we chose the high road of ignoring the situation and only speaking up when prompted. We shared my side of the story with a few individuals, but hardly anyone asked about it. It became a slow, silent severance, with only the gossip about me resonating through family, friends, and the small community we inhabited. My partner and his cousin Tyler grew distant. This hurt me deeply, as I cherished their close bond. My partner's parents and his aunt and uncle all ceased communication with each other. With everyone in his extensive family hearing the rumors about me, they began to withdraw and ignore me. As a side note, Auntie J and Tyler had previously executed a silent cut-off with my partner when he was 15. Tyler claimed that Vance had bullied him and thrown rocks at him at the bus stop, prompting Auntie J to confront Vance, labeling him a violent bully, after which they did not speak to him for years and intentionally excluded him from family events. For the next 3.5 years, all 4 of Vance's aunts made it clear that they detested me at every opportunity. I endured the following for years. All 4 aunts casting glances at me and treating me like I was worthless in public settings. I can count at least 10 occasions. Auntie J giving me the most contemptuous look along with an eye roll and whispering to another Auntie B. This occurred after I had endured 8 months of similar treatment from other aunts. I eventually broke down in tears to my mother-in-law because the bullying felt unjust, and I was nearing a breaking point where I considered sharing my truth. Continued rumors about my character circulated. I was portrayed as a dangerous alcoholic and manipulator, a jealous and insecure partner to my fiancé, and the reason behind my fiancé's lack of friendships. These allegations escalated to the point where they reached my potential practicum supervisor, the principal at the local elementary school, thereby preventing me from completing my practicum there in a small community. One aunt consistently humiliated me by ignoring me when I would engage with her. I will refer to her as Auntie D. I would greet her with, "Hi, Auntie D, how are you?" while smiling, and she wouldn't even acknowledge me. I persisted in this 5 times, and even my partner noticed her dismissal of me. It was humiliating. This behavior continued until this year when I worked alongside her at a community event in the kitchen. I addressed her by name and posed a question, yet she refused to look at me or answer. It became awkward, prompting her daughter to respond on her behalf. Auntie M particularly addressed me while I was pregnant, implying she believed Lakeisha's assertions and suggested that my drama was fracturing the family. Later, she sat next to me and conversed for a while. She repeatedly asked, "Where's Tyler?" When I replied, "I don't know," she said, "Wait, are you Lakeisha or—" I clarified that I was not Lakeisha, and then she exclaimed, "Oh my gosh, I thought you were Lakeisha this whole time. You two look so alike," and laughed obnoxiously in my face. Note: this was only my second encounter with Auntie M. On that same day, I borrowed a coffee cup from Auntie M. Tick's daughter, and for the entire day, she reminded me to return it 4 times, as if I had any intention of stealing it. During birthday celebrations, my partner was allowed to attend while I was not invited. He went to only one birthday party I wasn't permitted to attend, and it deeply hurt me. I relayed every glare, humiliation, rumor, and word spoken to me, or not spoken, to my partner. Over the 3.5 years, he never instructed his aunts to treat me respectfully. He never confronted his cousin, aunt, or uncle to clarify the truth or dispel the rumors. He never made a public statement on their family Facebook group, where his entire family is active, to defend my reputation or address the bullying I endured. Vance never disclosed to his family that he had listened to our phone call and was aware that Lakeisha was lying, which would have supported my case. I fell into deep depression, anxiety, and felt unwelcome in this community. The relentless bullying from his aunts alone prompted me to contemplate leaving the relationship on several occasions. Then, June 2024 arrived, and I finally reached my limit. We attended a community event, and Auntie M was present. A mere 1.5 months prior, I lost my mother unexpectedly and was grieving heavily. My grieving family, younger sister, younger brother, and Auntie S, traveled 9 hours to attend this event, marking my first reunion with them since the funeral. Auntie M positioned herself behind their chairs and began harassing them because they were in her way. She even shook one of the seats beneath my sister to prompt them to relocate. As this was happening, I urged my partner to intervene. He refused, telling me to wait for his mother to address the situation. Auntie M continued to harass my family, and my younger sister tapped my shoulder, appearing frightened and unsure of what to do. I implored my partner once more to please act, but he remained unyielding. My Auntie S eventually stood up and indicated that they were moving seats because apparently we aren't allowed to sit here. I turned to my partner one last time and informed him that Auntie M had just forced my family out of their seats. He replied, "Just wait for my mom to come and handle it." At that moment, I was exhausted from the bullying. I had faced at least 20 instances of mistreatment from his family, enduring in silence while my partner had consistently failed to defend me. I approached Auntie M and firmly told her she had no right to eject my family from their seats. Due to the loud music blaring from a nearby speaker, I raised my voice. After I walked away, a close family friend approached me and praised my actions. She said, "Stand your ground. Always remember that you are a strong Indigenous woman and do not allow anyone to disrespect you. Auntie M is a bully, and she has always been one. I have never seen anyone challenge her before. What I witnessed between you and Vance reminded me of my previous marriages. I don't know why it seems Okanagan men are hesitant to defend their partners. They're just afraid of facing confrontation." Auntie M created a group chat with my partner and sent me derogatory messages. She claimed she should have punched me in the face during our exchange. She asserted that I was the cause of her family's division, due to the baseless rumors initiated by the cousin's girlfriend years earlier, and instructed Vance not to marry me. I chose not to respond. I came to understand the impact this incident had on my partner. I promptly apologized to him, even though I was incredibly frustrated that he had not supported me or my grieving family when they faced harassment. We arranged a healing circle, guided by his aunts, of course, and I apologized to Auntie M for my confrontation with her. Auntie M accepted no responsibility. Instead, during the healing circle, she mocked my deceased mother by saying, "I saw a woman with gray hair sitting near my seat referring to my Auntie S and thought that must be S mom." But then I recalled, oh right, her mom is deceased. Nobody defended me or indicated that her comments were inappropriate. She claimed she never harassed my family and insisted that my sister, brother, and aunt were all delusional and hearing things. She stated, "I take no accountability. I did nothing wrong." I said nothing, and the family accepted her claims. I was the only one who apologized. As a side note, Auntie M has targeted an outsider-in-law like myself in the past. She attacked Auntie Daitak's daughter-in-law. When Auntie Daitak's son and his fiancée became engaged, Auntie M began discussing the daughter-in-law's previous DUI from decades ago, suggesting she should not marry into the family. This led to the cousin completely severing ties with Auntie M and marrying his fiancée. The animosity from his family intensified. More people distanced themselves, and rumors proliferated. My partner eventually posted a long message on the family Facebook group. However, it only concerned the effect this situation had on his mental health. When referencing me, he merely stated, "Made mistakes, but I know that forgiveness will never be granted." Later, I expressed my feelings of intense betrayal because he shared this without my awareness or consent, and I felt disappointed by his failure to protect my reputation. My partner called off the wedding 4 months ago. Now, every time my partner and I have a minor disagreement, he blames me for the disintegration of his family and for his lack of connections. When I defend myself and remind him that I was bullied for years and that Auntie M mocked my deceased mother and harassed my grieving family, he shuts down, deflects, and ultimately holds me accountable for everything. He expresses his unhappiness with me. I have never intended to dismantle this family. For years, I showed up with a smile and maintained a kind and non-problematic demeanor. I always held hope that one day, his family would treat me well, that they would recognize who I truly am. They never did. They never ceased their bullying or hatred toward me, and they even began targeting my family. To be blamed for this family's fragmentation, to be held accountable for my partner's family wanting nothing to do with him, paints a picture of me that I do not recognize. That is not who I am, nor is it reflective of my actions. It frustrates me immensely that he believes this. Therefore, I have a few reflections. I am viewed as my in-law's scapegoat. I was bullied to my limits by his family. I refrained from acting until they targeted my grieving family and my partner refused to intervene. His aunts will never own up to their behavior. It is far easier for them to blame me than to acknowledge their toxicity. The gaslighting from his family is so intense that it has clouded my partner's judgment and even affected my own. We are set to begin couples therapy this month, but every time I approach this topic, I feel nauseous and faint. I don't know, perhaps this will serve as a message cast into the void. I fear that if my partner fails to recognize his family's toxic, enmeshed nature and their lack of boundaries and respect, I will ultimately have no choice but to face life as a single mother of 2. I love my partner deeply, but this situation has fractured my mental well-being. So Reddit, my small family that I created, is already in disarray, and I feel as though I truly have nothing left to lose. Am I in the wrong for standing up for myself and my grieving family? Story 2. Consultant manipulates students and spreads false rumors, forcing an NDA. Shockingly, many quit after discovering her toxic ways. Quick background. This is a disposable account. I am trying to remain as anonymous as possible. I fear that I will be sued or that my friends will face legal action because this consultant possesses the wealth and influence to do so. She is also fixated on suing others. Additionally, she uses Reddit as well. I will not disclose my age or anyone else's age for the sake of anonymity concerning those involved. I am uncertain if this classifies as a third-party story since it pertains to my friend who composed it and wished to share it. All three of us are original users, so I don't believe it violates any rules. Quick context: I cannot provide specific dates as it would be too easy to identify the individuals involved, so I will recount all the events chronologically. My friends, let's refer to them as Kenny and Leonard. These are not their real names, but I have noticed other Reddit stories utilizing pseudonyms. We will call the consultant Jenny and the two girls Chloe and Emma. This relates to a college consulting service. Personally, I dislike the concept of college consulting, yet over half of the students in my school utilize a college consultant, making it seem commonplace. For those who are unfamiliar, a college consultant functions similarly to a school counselor, but with a more personalized approach. However, some college consultants, this one included, are extremely controlling, akin to Stalin. They attempt to dominate every aspect of your life and bind you to their services. I will begin with Kenny's story. I will present the tale from his viewpoint to avoid repetitively mentioning Kenny. I can only share Kenny's account, as Leonard's story is more recent. Kenny's statement: I became involved with this consultant several years ago. I genuinely believed that opting for a college consulting service was a poor decision because I saw it as unnecessary. I mean, how desperate must one be to seek a college consultant for university admission? Nevertheless, most of my classmates at the time were using one since we are a highly competitive school, so I decided to give it a try. Initially, I found the place to be quite appealing. They promised a guaranteed acceptance into an Ivy League institution. For those of you considering consultants who assure admission to Ivy League schools, do not attend this one. This sounded great for a student aspiring to attend an Ivy League school. The services were reasonably priced, which is uncommon in my city. In comparison to other consultants, this one showed commendable results, which I will explain later, and conducted weekly meetings. Other consultants tend to meet every couple of months, etc. My first 6 months were pleasant. I improved my math skills. She provided the right guidance and motivation, figured out my college aspirations, and made significant overall progress. My first red flag surfaced when I took a course at my local college. At that time, I was concluding my freshman year and was quite unsure of myself. I studied harder for this particular college course than I ever had in my life, despite having no prior knowledge in the subject. I scored a C on my first test. There were 3 tests during the semester. When I returned with my progress report, Jenny downplayed it. She arranged for me to have a tutor for that subject, reflecting back, not a very effective one. I met with that tutor once a week. The summer semester lasted only 6 weeks, and I began receiving tutoring during the 3rd week. 1 hour a week was clearly insufficient to study for a 6-week course that had been condensed from an 18-week curriculum, so I dedicated most of my study time at home, spending approximately 3 to 8 hours each day of my summer studying intensely. When I received my second test score, it was a B. I was pleased, but not satisfied because I was fixated on achieving A's. I showed my tutor my grade, and she remarked that I had performed remarkably well. She was a college student studying the same subjects. When Jenny called me into her office, I anticipated a good job or let's strive for that. Instead, upon entering, I found her fuming. She lambasted me, stating that I was a joke and not putting in enough effort, accusing me of treating the situation lightly. For those insisting that I am incompetent, I was also enrolled in 3 other summer courses that my city mandates for graduation, and summer was the optimal time to take them. These 3 subjects can be taken during the academic year, but I preferred to fill my schedule with AP and honors classes instead. In any case, I was quite devastated. I had devoted hours to studying for this class only to be labeled a joke. I shared my concerns with my tutor, as I felt my efforts had been dismissed. Regardless, I somehow managed to earn an A by the semester's end. Still, the comment impacted me significantly. After that, numerous dramas unfolded. She gossiped about me to tutors and insulted me personally. I reported her actions, and we exchanged grievances. Reflecting on it now, I believe I was being unreasonable. Eventually, Jenny and I reached a compromise, promising to refrain from badmouthing one another, although she did not uphold her end of the agreement, which I did not discover until much later. Then she hosted a SAT class. The class was enjoyable, and I made new acquaintances. The tutor was laid back, and I looked forward to attending. This was still during the summer when I was enrolled in the college course, so I would arrive at class extremely hungry. Jenny kept boxes of ramen on hand, so I would grab a bowl and eat it during the breaks. There are two key issues that arise from this situation: my conflict with Chloe and the ramen incident. I believe I started a conversation with Chloe on Instagram. I needed assistance with the SAT, and she was quite friendly towards me during class. I didn't know many people at the time and wanted to make a new friend. That was how I regarded her. One day, while chatting, she asked me to join her at a popular mall nearby. It was a Friday and I was feeling bored, so I thought hanging out as friends would be enjoyable. She invited some friends, and I attended solo. The important point here is that she initiated the invitation. Upon our return, I thought she was genuinely nice. We communicated frequently on Instagram, especially about crushes, since we attended different schools. It had been some time since we last spoke, but I distinctly remember mentioning that I liked a junior, we were sophomores then, at my school. Then suddenly, I noticed that her Instagram profile had turned gray, leading me to assume she had deleted her account or was banned since I could still view her alternate spam account. I did not give it much thought and moved on with my life. I stopped seeing her at the consulting center and barely encountered her afterward. Approximately 2 months later, I attended the consulting center for our regular meeting. Jenny appeared with a grim expression. She initiated the conversation with, "I know who you dated in middle school." I initially thought she was joking. However, she proceeded to mention the girl's name, grade, school, and more. Middle school had ended more than 2 years prior, so I was taken aback. It turned out that my toxic ex-girlfriend had a friend at the consulting center. Her friend spread false rumors about harassment, among other things. I was utterly dismayed by Jenny's outrageous statements. Then she began talking about Chloe. She claimed Chloe had informed her that I had sexually harassed her, saying that I invited her to the mall, which was false, as all her friends accompanied her. I had never touched her, nor had I sent her inappropriate messages. Jenny then brazenly asserted that she knew I had liked Chloe from the onset of the SAT class, and that I was a horrible person. The accusations continued. Who wouldn't defend themselves in such a situation? I attempted to show her my text conversations with Chloe and requested evidence of harassment or messages proving I had harassed her. Jenny refused to even consider them. I realized she was unaware of our discussions on Instagram since she mentioned the mall numerous times, claiming I had invited her. Attempting to reason with her was futile. She proceeded to bring up my ramen lunch, which had happened 9 months prior. She informed me that she had altered my schedule to prevent Chloe from encountering me. I endeavored to further defend myself, yet Jenny stated that the only way she would believe me was if I pursued legal action against Chloe and my ex-girlfriend's friend for defamation. Imagine being told to sue someone merely to establish your innocence. It was the most absurd suggestion I had ever received. She disregarded my evidence or testimonies. She coerced me into signing a non-disclosure agreement. I regretted signing it upon reflection, in which I acknowledged that I would cease complaining about her, which I hadn't done in months, stop interacting with girls at the consulting center, and admit guilt. I was terrified at that moment because having a sexual harassment allegation against me appeared dreadful, and my only option was to sign it. My family was unaware, as were my friends. To my knowledge, she did not require Chloe to sign anything. It has been a while since I last visited the consulting place. She violated her side of the agreement, and Chloe could not keep quiet about the whole incident. I decided to leave because she exhibited unprofessional behavior. She brought in a tutor whom I absolutely detested. He had caused me trouble in several subjects, into her office, and spoke poorly of me. For 4 consecutive weeks, she would bring in this subpar tutor, trash-talking me for the entire hour. Jenny constantly disparaged me to other students, comparing me to them, emotionally abusing me, which I had already become indifferent to, and attempting to manipulate me into complying with her demands. I ultimately quit just as the contract payment was about to be renewed. Since then, I have not spoken negatively about her. Epilogue. A couple of months ago, I learned more about the situation and could not shake my anger. Her closest friend informed me that Chloe liked me a great deal. However, since I did not show interest in her, Chloe blocked me, accused me of harassment, and alerted her classmates. I know this because we have a significant number of mutual acquaintances, and she lied to them about me. Recently, her friends informed others at my school about the incident, and I had to convince my friends that Chloe was being dishonest. It turns out she is incredibly wealthy. If she does not get her way, she attempts to ruin people's lives. My favorite tutor, who is still at the consulting center, nearly faced termination because she failed an Algebra 2 exam. She reported him for being ineffective and a failure to Jenny. It seems futile to discuss Jenny now, but she violated her end of the NDA. Other students and former associates who attended the consulting center are aware of it. A girl named Emma Direct messaged me on Instagram about it last month. The fact that it has been 2 years, yet I still hear updates about Jenny's students, friends, and mutual acquaintances is astonishing. Jenny or Chloe, if you recognize yourselves, know that I possess much more information about you both, and I have essentially downplayed the situation. Let's not cross paths again. Kenny recently, Emma has been emulating Chloe's behavior. She has been falsely reporting students to Jenny. Unsurprisingly, Jenny treated Leonard poorly. This incident occurred recently, within the past few weeks, so I prefer that he refrain from sharing his story for the time being. If you have read The Crucible or are acquainted with the second Red Scare led by Joseph McCarthy, it is precisely that scenario. Meanwhile, Kenny is willing to answer questions because there are numerous details omitted due to the volume of events that took place. He attended for 2 years and 3/4. Are we the ones at fault? Edit. I realize that there is not much questionable behavior on our part. Jenny has certainly made it seem as though we are the villains, as have Emma and Chloe. We just needed reassurance that we were not the ones in the wrong. Edit 2. I found out from another friend that several individuals left that place, possibly 25 to 45 of her students. Story 3. I fell for my best friend, but he confused me about our relationship. Now, he's distant and chasing new girls while I am clinging on. My situation is quite intricate. This guy has been my best friend for a year and a half now, long distance, by the way, and he has consistently dropped hints about his feelings for me. Around August, we grew increasingly close, spending nearly every minute together playing video games and watching movies. We often joked about flirting, and he made me feel exceptionally special. I always felt like I was his top priority. Everyone around us could see our connection and would often express their support for us, but I maintained that nothing romantic would ever happen, as I saw him as someone who was not serious in relationships. One random night, we talked about having unusual feelings for each other, though we didn't delve too deeply into it at the time. Nevertheless, we began to flirt more openly, and he treated me as though I were his girlfriend and the love of his life. Unfortunately, things escalated to the point where I allowed him to speak to me in a sexual manner, expressing how much he desired me and how he felt jealous when I mentioned dating anyone else. He even asked for permission to think about intimate matters involving me and requested pictures. At the time, I felt completely comfortable with it because he seemed perfect and genuinely caring, a whole green flag in my eyes. I believed he would never hurt me. Then one day, he started talking about marriage, expressing that he wanted to marry me. This made me very happy, and we discussed the details, including the challenges we might face. Since we often joked around, I asked if he was serious, wanting to understand why he would want to marry someone he claimed not to love. He insisted that he was in love with me. However, a few days later, I realized I needed to clarify what our relationship was. My friends even pointed out that he continued to interact with other girls and acted as though he were single in his streams. So I asked him about our situation, and he replied that I was just his best friend. I was taken aback, asking how he could consider us just friends after everything we had shared. He stated that while he had feelings for me, he was unsure if they were genuine. He admitted that he had said things he wasn't sure he truly meant, and that he didn't see us as lovers because he couldn't envision being with anyone else, which drove me crazy, particularly regarding the sexual comments he'd made. I knew about his past, and for me, that was significant. It seemed hypocritical for him to treat me casually while declaring his desire to marry me, especially when I saw him as a serious partner. He began apologizing, getting upset when I labeled him a player, saying that he never viewed me in a sexual manner because he felt he knew me well enough. Regarding marriage, he dismissed it by saying that friends do get married and that it was merely a hypothetical future discussion. I became so frustrated that I blocked him on all platforms for a week. After our break, we talked again, and I cried heavily because he had been my everything. The week had been incredibly challenging. Not only was I dealing with the situation between us, but I also lost my grandmother. He kept berating himself, expressing how confused he was, and emphasizing his tendency to be open with me. I forgave him, and we resumed our friendship. It has been a month since we reconciled. Initially, things felt normal again, but then he began behaving oddly, almost as if he were interested in someone else. I sensed that he wasn't texting or calling me as frequently as before, and he even avoided being alone with me in video calls, preferring to invite friends instead. I ignored him for 2 days, and he reached out, explaining that he was going through a mental breakdown and asking me not to change towards him. I assured him I wouldn't. Yet, he seemed to act as if our connection meant nothing. I find myself lying to myself, saying we are still friends, but it hurts deeply. I have not fully moved on, and I still harbor resentment, even though I have kept my feelings to myself. One reason I hesitated to end things is that I thought he might genuinely hold confusing feelings for me. However, he has been following more girls on Instagram and making comments during calls with his friends about using dating apps and wanting to meet new girls. This behavior feels very disrespectful, especially since I witnessed him liking posts that suggest he is open to new relationships. I feel like he is reverting to his old ways while keeping me on the sidelines, waiting for him. Connecting the dots leads me to believe he simply doesn't want me, despite proclaiming his desire for me just 2 days before our argument. I cannot comprehend this shift. I even mentioned the possibility of him having a split personality because his actions are baffling. He has not changed and likely won't, always seeking something or someone new. I have contemplated removing him from my life, acting distant for 3 days, claiming I just need some alone time. However, this is extraordinarily difficult for me. I want you to understand how deeply attached I am to him and how I view him as my everything. He has supported me consistently, and I see him as my soulmate. We met once at a wedding when we were 17, and now we are in our early 20s. His aunt, who is my age, was my best friend in high school. Despite my friend's initial support for our relationship, she now warns me that he is not a good person and suggests that he is manipulative and deceitful, advising me to respect myself and walk away. Although I am happiest when I am with him, I do not know what to do next. I have been distant, knowing I should end things but feeling a strong need for him in my life. Yet, I also believe in the importance of self-respect. I know he will question me about my feelings, and I struggle to express them because he is aware of the impact of his actions. I have written a lengthy message in my notes, contemplating whether or not to send it.